Welcome back, everybody. It's the second half of day 4 for the Digital Investment Week right here at the Malaysia Tech Month 2021. Join us as I welcome the next session entitled Making Malaysia the Hub of IT Excellence, the Schott Germany Story. Presenting this session is Mirko Goetze, the Vice President and Head of Regional Information Solutions, Schott AG, and Christian Lamparth, the Managing Director of Schott Asia IT Services Malaysia. Over to you, gentlemen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us at the Malaysian Tech Month. My name is Christian Lamparth, and I have Mirko Goetze here with me. We are here to introduce you a little bit about our company Schott and our IT service adventure, which we started here in Malaysia, thanks to the help of MDEX. So a little bit about Mirko and myself. Mirko has been working for Schott for the last 20 years, running the IT, central IT in Germany, and I have been working for Schott in the United States for the last 15 years, where I've been running the IT in the United States, and now I'm transitioning here to manage the new operation in Malaysia together with Mirko. So I will start off with a little bit about the history of our company and what Schott does, and then Mirko will continue to share a little bit more about what we are doing as far as the IT projects goes here in Malaysia. So Schott was founded more than 130 years ago by Otto Schott and Carl Zeiss and Ernst Abbe, where they founded a company in Jena, Germany. And the goal of the company was basically to make glass products better. Back then, in 1848, they focused mainly on developing lenses for microscopes and the sliders for the microscopes. Out of this, they founded the Carl Zeiss Foundation, which consists basically out of two companies, which is Schott AG and Carl Zeiss. So Schott AG is the company where Mirko and I work for, and Carl Zeiss is our sister company. So Schott mainly focuses on business-to-business products. So we actually probably you probably used one of the Schott products in your life without even knowing it. And Carl Zeiss also does business products, but they also are having some consumer products. So they are famous for lenses which are used for cameras and so on, for example. So our company roughly has $2.24 billion in sales. We have 16,000 employees worldwide and an EBIT of roughly $300 million a year. So as far as a couple of highlights of the company, so the company first international operation was started in Brazil in 1954 in Rio, actually. And it's interesting to see the plant there was actually outside the city, and now it is surrounded by the city. The first operation in Asia was in 1966 in Japan. And then the first production plant here in Malaysia was actually 1974 in Penang. Lately, we started to expand more in China and in India, as well as in 2019, we actually purchased a company called Minifab in Australia. And as far as our products go, so we do specialty glass, mainly all the glass which are melted at 1,500 degrees or above. So the company in Australia, they make the little sliders for the microscope, but they have diagnostics built in. So for example, if you put a little blood drop on the glass, which they make, it can tell you your blood sugar levels and all the thing right out of the glass without doing anything else. So our company operates in 34 countries, and we have over 60 locations. And our headquarters is in Mainz, Germany, which is near Frankfurt. Another product which came out of Mainz is the printing press was invented in Mainz. And then we have 4 more locations in Germany alone. In Asia, we have 9 production sites and 8 sales offices and roughly 3,500 employees. So the nearest plant to our site here in Kuala Lumpur is the plant in Penang, but we also have operations in Singapore, in India, Korea, Japan, China, Australia, and so on, just to name a few. So a little bit about the first plant here in Malaysia. So Schott Glass Malaysia, the plant was founded in 1974. And it was also the first site I visited in Malaysia or in Asia. And the location back then had 200 employees. Now we are up to 800 employees there. And here we do a specialty glass, which are, for example, used for movie projector. So if you go to the movie theater and you see DLP, the lens is actually made here at Schott Glass Malaysia for this. Another product they do there is if you have a Samsung phone and you buy the new bendable Samsung phone, that glass is also made here at Schott Glass Malaysia. So Schott consists out of 7 different business units. So we have a very broad range of product portfolios, and we have 21 strategic growth areas for those product portfolios, basically, ranging from home tech to flat glass. So those are products you see more at home, like the ceramic cooktop, to advanced optics, like we do night visions and some other products which I will share with you in the next couple slides. So here are some of the products we are making. So one of them, which I already said, was the bendable glass for the Samsung phone. If you go to the supermarket and you see the glass which I use for the fridge or freezers, that's made by us. We make glass which is fire-resistant glass, which can be used at home for like a fireplace, but also for industrial applications. We also make the glass or the lens for the world's largest telescope, which is being installed in Chile. And if you think about it, the lens is so pure that if you take the size of France, the country, and you put it flat down, and there should not be any deviation greater than 1 millimeter. So, you know, it's very precise glass which we are making. Other products are the lighting fixtures which you see in airplanes, or the lighting fixtures which you see in cars. But besides the lighting fixtures in the car, we also make actually glass component which is used for the igniter for the airbag, which is in like 80% of all the airbags worldwide. And then, of course, the other product which we are very proud of is we make 75% of all the vials which are used for the COVID vaccine. So it doesn't matter if you get a COVID vaccine from Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Sinovac, or so, most of the glasses which are used for that vaccines are made by us. So that being said, you know, COVID-19, like everybody else, you know, we got hit hard by it, but because we have such a broad product portfolio, we were able to actually grow the company in certain areas. And, you know, and of course, because we make glass which are essential, such as the glass used for the COVID vaccine, we also make glass for the lung ventilators. You know, we had to keep on producing those glasses because, you know, the world needs it to get over this crisis together. So we took a lot of measurements in each one of our facilities to make sure that our employees are safe. You know, of course, we are following strict SOPs such as, you know, keeping the 6 feet distance, wearing a mask, and so on. But we also, each employee who comes to work gets COVID tested before arriving to work. So we have rapid test kits, which we also deployed here in our operation in Kuala Lumpur as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about IT initiatives, and then later on, Mirko will give you some more overview of what we're doing here directly in Malaysia. So one of the important aspects is for us is digitalization. And the reason why this is important to us is in order to make great class products, we need great IT solutions. So we are depending on smart technologies. So we are using things like artificial intelligence to figure out if we have in the production a quality control problem. So for example, the COVID vaccine classes are automated inspected. And if we have a glass which doesn't fit the quality standard, it is discarded, so that we know that every glass we ship meets high quality standards. We use augmented reality to provide remote training or remote support. So for example, if we have an engineer in Brazil who has problems with the machine, somebody in India or in Germany can go and see exactly what the engineer sees and help them out. We are currently in the process of implementing Industry 4.0 standards, so that we are basically having a smart factory, so that if we with automatic machine learning, so that if a machine, for example, has some problems or so, it automatically triggers a repair process, and it lets us know next time before the machine breaks that this actually is happening, so that we can be proactive with this. So and part of this, because of this strategy, IT is really very important to our company, and this is why we are setting up a competence center here in Malaysia, which will help us to even make our internal IT even better, to provide better IT to our customers. So as far as the numbers go, so if you look at the numbers here, is the different systems we are currently using. So we use 60 VMware plans. We have roughly 10,000 clients, over 1,000 access points. We use SAP. We have Exchange and Skype and so on. So everything you see in blue is basically services which we in the future will manage out of Malaysia. So the ones in the dark blue you see, those are the services which will be first moved to Malaysia. This is what we considered phase 1, and that is currently in progress. And then the ones in the middle blue or the baby blue are considered basically next to be migrated here, and then the light blue will be in phase 3, which is the last phase of our project of setting up an IT competence center here in Malaysia. So with that being said, I would like to now hand it over to my colleague Mirko, who will give you some more insight on what exactly we're doing here in Malaysia.
Thank you very much, Christian, for handing over to take the next part of the presentation today. And of course, a warm welcome from my side to everybody who is participating here. Unfortunately, the slides will be not as nice as Christian's will be, because we made it by ourselves, not by marketing from Schott, but hopefully even interesting so far for you guys. We would like to jump a little bit through the SAIDS project. SAIDS, what does it mean? This is simply Schott AG IT Services. What stands for the name of our company, which we, by the way, introduced and incorporated on the 15th of March this year. So let's walk a little bit through the history, where we are coming from, just to give you an idea, because it's necessary to understand that we coming from a comprehensive outsourcing, so let's say full outsourcing in the past, so more or less 13 years with HP. And it's important to understand that we canceled this contract at the end of the day by end of 2016. Based on these facts and experience that we made there, of course, there were, let's say, achievements that we had to commit to the board. And on the right side, you see some of these achievements which we reached through all that time, 13 years with HP. Of course, cost reduction and optimization is one fact. But if you see the figures that Christian already shared with you amongst the world and 43 plants, you could imagine that standardization across 7 different BUs with hundreds of different products is always a challenge. And of course, with HP and at this time with the outsourcing contract, we were really able to standardize a lot of these products and services in terms of IT. Nevertheless, there are challenges after we canceled the contract, especially in that way that we miss, let's say, a bright future in terms of IT strategy, innovations and such things after such a long period with HP. And therefore, it's often the way that you then go to the opposite. And we started more or less in period in 2016 or end of 2016, where we went in a multi-provider landscape and strategy. And then, of course, this brings other challenges on top to everybody, where you then face, if you run in trouble with some IT services, every provider will tell you that it's probably not his fault, and it's maybe something that the other provider did wrong, and therefore you fell into different gaps. And this, of course, leads someone to a direction that you have to change something again. On top to these things, we're facing challenges, of course, to find the right people with the right skills in Europe or in Americas. So we have simply not enough talents to fulfill our requests. And the other challenge that we have, of course, with this spread across the world, this geographical footprint for IT, it's probably not sufficient enough to fulfill all the requests from our customer. And that's why we thought about what are the challenges and what are the motivations to make something different in the near future. One of the things that came out of this thinking and think tanks that we built up is, of course, to think about if you would like to go to set up a different IT competence center, to have a second location. And the rationale of that I gave you this a little bit. Of course, we would like to rebalance our core competencies between this insourcing services. And therefore, the decision is very clear that we said we would like to make things by ourselves in the near future. Of course, IT is one of the core competencies that we have to develop to improve it, all in all the products and services that came out of Schott worldwide, and at the end, which fulfills the need of our customer worldwide. So the talent pool, I briefly mentioned this, is limited in the area when we talk about Germany and Americas especially. And the other thing is we developed together with all Schott employees and the board a Schott strategy 2026. And one of the key aspects in that strategy is to serve the customer in Asia. And we simply follow with IT the overall Schott strategy to serve our customer in Asia. And then we, of course, came to the conclusion to see how we could fulfill this strategy and what are the consequences out of this strategic goal setting. Some other facts, of course, if you go abroad, Germany, as Christian mentioned, since 1945, it's time to even go with IT abroad and do things better than in the past. And this German-centric IT delivery is not the model that we would like to have. So we would like to have an IT regional hub in the future, as you could see here with this Turkey star. in Southeast Asia. And it's not a secret, we now made a decision to go to Malaysia, of course. Just to give you an idea, how long does it take at the end, or did it take at the end, till we came to the conclusion here, though the first introduction and tossing of ideas took place in September 2019, where we had the first discussion with our Chief Financial Officer from Schott. He is experienced from his former position and company to setting up IT businesses in Asia, and therefore, as I said, we play around with all these different ideas. And yeah, so we made some different presentations step by step, had the first visit in Malaysia, but this was definitely not at this time in January 2020, the time where we already made a decision. So there were further steps along that line that we have to go with the board members and some other colleagues in IT and outside IT. So we run through a process to evaluate different locations in Asia, like you could see here, Malaysia, China, India, where I could show you later on a slide with some more details about that. Long story short, we got the final decision and the board approval based on a developed business case and ideas how to set up such a service for Malaysia in August 2020. And luckily then we found with the MIDA head in Frankfurt, which wears two hats. He's even the Chancellor of the Consulate of Malaysia in Germany, Mr. Yusri. The first idea developments, how we could set up such a business here in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. And he finally built the bridge to the MDEC organization and you guys here in Kuala Lumpur directly, which was a tremendous improvement of the collaboration from Schott and the people here in Malaysia. Yeah. So, and as you could see, finally, we could start that project in 2021, in January. So just coming back to the fact which I already said, so we investigated the Philippines, we investigated Vietnam, as well as Indonesia, and of course, Malaysia, India, and China at this time. And we narrowed down based on facts and figures, which we got from IT Kearney, Infotech, Tricor, KBNG, and all these consultant companies to finally Kuala Lumpur or Malaysia, Bangalore, and Shenzhen as the main centers of these IT hubs in their countries. And based on the business case development and all this stuff, we made, of course, here in comparison in a way like you could see here, why we go to Malaysia and not to India, China. I show you this a little later, but this was maybe one of the things that I would like to share with you, especially the strengths from Malaysia, of course. And here is for me important to mention everything that belongs to the MSc status and the benefits that runs around with that MSc status. Yeah. And of course, if you have in mind to set up a 7 by 24 by 365 day operations worldwide for production plants out of Malaysia, then it's more than important to have a world-class physical IT infrastructure. And so we are very thankful that you guys have here these different tier models for the MSc infrastructure. And by the way, we choose in between a tier 3 building here to provide all these things. Nevertheless, of course, there are financial leverage of that. And the other thing is, of course, important for us based on the talent pool that you guys here have, that there are even the possibility to the employment of even foreign and local knowledge workers here together with that MSc status. On top to that, I would like to share here briefly the ranking that we made by ourselves. Of course, you could see this is a top-down ranking here in comparison for Malaysia, India, and China, and which was the main driver for us in Schott to set up the competence center here in Malaysia. Of course, the stability that you guys here have in terms of intellectual property and privacy laws is a significant driver in comparison to the other countries that you could see where we really rely on in Schott, as well as staff loyalty and staff turnover. Of course, we have to rely on people that are willing to work with us for the next years on one hand side, and on the other hand side to bring innovations to the IT. Of course, we expect a lot of benefits for us, for our customers. And the other thing which is of course important for us is the outstanding English skills that you guys have here in Malaysia, so everybody is able to speak English even on a level which is important to understand, which is understandable in Europe and in the US. So quite great success for us here in this ranking. Then of course we had, this is just to share an internal discussion inside Schott, where the board asked us, why do you guys want to go to KL and not to Penang? And of course, as Christian already shared, we have our production plan since 1974 in Penang. Nevertheless, we made a decision to go here, but of course, this is related to the fact of the MSc availability and usability of the infrastructure in KL, which is not really comparable, and of course on a higher level and standard in comparison to Penang, as well as the availability of the talented pool that you guys have here. And just to share the figures that we got at this time from AT Kearney and from KBMG to make the comparison between KL and Selangor as a broader area here around in comparison to Penang. So these are the main drivers, or these were the main drivers for us to go to KL here and to incorporate our business here. Just some project details which I would like to share with you. How we set up the organization here to build the bridge between the current IT organization. I don't want to go in detail, just to share with you guys here, as Christian mentioned, Christian and myself, we are trying to steer here as a managing director the new organization. And of course, we built the bridge to the board and the CIO together. And the other role that I have is I'm steering inside IT all the regional part, which means all the reporting lines from the local stuff in our plants belongs to me, and therefore we built this bridge for migrating services here to our area and to our new business. Based on the given facts that Christian already mentioned, we have in the first phase here the figures in terms of hiring. But this is not what I would point to and highlight to you. I would like to point out here more the 2,000 applicants that we had in between here since we started our incorporation in March. So imagine 2,000 applicants for the jobs that we pointed out. We made 200 interviews in between. Just to give you an idea, 50 from T-Systems, 30 from IBM, and 130 others. So even from our colleagues in Penang, which supported us, I would say all in all a tremendous success in hiring the people here. And even that I shared these figures with the guys that we already hired, and of course, if they see we have 2,000 applicants for the jobs here, that makes them very proud, and it's really a good step to start our business here. These are the phases which were briefly mentioned already. We start with phase 1, which is mainly driven by infrastructure related stuff, and these are the staff figures that we have already hired or nearly hired for the first phase. which is mainly related to what we call data center environment, what we call workplace environment, and what we call network environment. I don't want to get in too much details to that, just to say that we have now running the knowledge transfer phase for all three parts here. And all in all, despite the fact that we all suffer under the MCO relations that we now face here, we are definitely successful in time, budget, and in scope. Yeah. So all in all, a tremendous effort from all of us to bring up here the business up and running. Phase 2, you could see this year after 2 years in operation, and of course we have to make proof that we are successful with phase 1 to our board. And just briefly mention the idea that is behind. So it's more, we talk about then different services and the next staff level here, so that we then talk about approximately 60 FTEs. And later on in phase 3, you could even see here the values in terms of years. We talk about 150 plus IT staff, which we would like to hire here, and where we would like to bring our services worldwide to Schott internally. Just to share with you some ideas about the transition transformation, what we call this, how we do the business itself. So as I briefly showed you, we structure this in different phases, and the first phase is the infrastructure phase. And later on we go to, let's say, more complex services. So we definitely have in mind to bring over SAP services. So we are an SAP driven company, which means we have in our roughly 70 locations worldwide SAP already implemented. And this service is currently even done by some outsourcing providers. So this is on the list to think about how we could move that to Malaysia, but any other thing like cloud services, mobilities, and such stuff will then later be on our list. The idea is, of course, how we run such things is we start, let's say, simple with the support center based on the org chart which I shared with you, is that we at first have the service steered by the colleagues in the headquarters, and later on we will give step by step these to as an end-to-end responsibility to the guys here in Malaysia, and then we call it later on competence center. So this is more or less the approach that we have in our mind, and of course we steer this together here, as I said, Christian and myself, together with our colleagues in Mainz and worldwide. The transformation method, a little bit deeper here, is that, to share that with you, of course, every contract that we currently have with some outsourcing provider is on the list. So we scrutinize all these contracts in terms of lifetime, budget, and all these things. And then if there is a business case for Schott worldwide, then we bring all these services here to Malaysia, as already mentioned. And this shows you just the approach that we follow, and based on the steering committee, where even board members are part of, we bring up these new business cases to the steering committee, and later on we made this decision to move on step by step. Good, this is just the timeline in more detail. You could see here where the borderline is between gray and blue. This is the status from today. We still unfortunately wait for the MSc or for passing the application for the MSc status. So hopefully this will be done during the next weeks here, and will be officially committed by the authorities here. So we would really appreciate this. And despite that fact, you could see that the things are running in terms of the transformation for the workplaces, which I already shared with you. So the last go live that maybe is important to share it with you for the network services is stated for the 1st of April next year. So that means after, let's say, 10 months operation, hiring and all this stuff, the first phases in terms of our 3 work streams will be then go live here and will be worldwide operated out of Malaysia. So this is our objective. I know it's challenging, but we are quite positive that we could really make it. Yeah, this is maybe too much detail, therefore I highlighted only the first 2 risks that we identified here in the project, but important it is to share that with you, of course, the COVID-19 restrictions that we all face here. I hope and I cross the fingers that the COVID values decreasing as much as possible. Yeah, we are suffering with you guys, of course, but in the meantime, we could solve the issues that we could see with the help of especially MDEC, and I would really point out here, especially Mr. Carmelindo from MDEC, who's the regional manager for Europe from MDEC. So without his help, we would hardly made it to find office spaces in all the meantime. But nevertheless, we experienced some delays here, of course, and I would just yeah, thank you guys, of course, for the collaboration here, but even to point out that is, of course, a point that we discuss every week in the project. And of course, the immigration things, getting working permits and all this stuff, it's something that make us some headaches sometimes. Yeah, just to share it with you how we handle it and how we monitor it in the project. Here you could see that we are luckily were able to rent some office space, and I'm really proud to share this with you. So as I said already, we have this tier level 3 building in Bangsar House in Tower B from the UOA towers, and this is just an outlook how the office will be looks like. We made this already with our renovation company, which helps us set up all this stuff. And yeah, the other important thing that I would like to point out is, of course, that we have a hot desk environment or shared desk, which we would like to point out with the shared desk ratio from 10 to 6. This is exactly follow the rules and policy that we have in a headquarter. So that is the policy independent from COVID. Yeah, so that we have a model in place which creates a convenient working environment for all our employees, and that they are able to experience a really great work environment. Yeah. So just to point it out that we have in relaxing areas in mind to set it up for table football things, exports, mini golf, and such things that are important to create this nice and yeah, this nice working environment for all our guys. This is just the right picture here, how it will looks like if we have finished the office. And yeah, of course, this is a picture where I'm really proud of, which shows the familiar UA towers for you guys, and where we made the picture after we renting the office here in the middle there. Good. This our experiences from the last let's say 5-6 months where we worked here in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. So especially very thank you guys from MDEC. Without your exceptional help, we would hardly be able to make this happen. And I would really thank in person Dr. Reis Hussein as the chairman from MDEC, Mr. Rina, CEO, Mr. Ray, CMO from MDEC, and as well as I already mentioned, Mr. Carmel. So thank you guys very much for your support, and of course thank you very much to the MIDA organization, especially to Mr. Yusri in Frankfurt, and to Mr. Niels Wolters, but even to the MIDA guys, which accompanied us here as liaison officer, which they did a great job. So Terima Kasih atas sokongan Anda I hope it's understandable even and pronounced in hopefully the right way. Then, of course, we have, based on our experience, some things that we would like to address to you. Of course, it's important to understand that we made, based on the rankings that we made for our decision where we want to set up our competence center, we had no clue about MDic, MSc at this time, and this came later on. And of course, I could promise you, if we would be known about all these nice things that you have established here in Malaysia so far, our decision would be much faster to go to KL, to Malaysia itself. And I would like to encourage you somehow create an environment where all these things that you set up here perfectly in Malaysia would known around the world. There are definitely the possibility to do more out of this, yeah. And let's talk about how we could do such things. And of course, one thing that it's sometimes a little bit where we are wondering, of course, if the policies are very clear. Yeah? So just to give you an example, if we arrive here and everything seems to be quite good in terms of SOPs. So we like to start, and 2 days later the SOPs are changed, and we have to adapt and to adjust business policies and rules and setups here. So it would be help to get more in advance, more than only 2 days, changes of SOPs and such things. Yeah. Good, this is more or less everything, as I said, and here you could see the first picture of the guys that we are hired already on the 1st of July this year, and this is part of the first batch on the data center guys, together with the nice logos here, and from pioneering. This is, by the way, one of the headlines that we have inside Schott currently. Pioneering responsibly together is part of the strategy 2026, which I briefly mentioned. And I would like to say thank you, of course. And finally, to emphasize, we brought with us a short video which shows in 40 seconds, something like this, something about our amazing products inside Schott. Have fun, and thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Hey you, we've had quite a journey together. It's about time to show you how much you mean to me. Remember how it all began? Time flies. We started small, and you've been by my side ever since. Even at work, you're on my mind. We warmed up to each other so quickly. Actually, things can get a little too heated at times. And yet, you can be so cool. You're just the coolest. Together we've gone through thick and thin. No challenge is too big. Always inspiring me to try something new. You're unbreakable. Well, almost. We've definitely had our lows, along with some incredible highs. Together we keep exploring, even places where no one has been before. You make me laugh and see the world with fresh eyes, even through the darkest hours, helping to make the world a better place. And even after all these years, there's still more sides of you to discover. You're truly extraordinary. And I'm pretty sure the best is yet to come.
Terima kasih, Mirko. Thank you, gentlemen, for that fascinating session. Expecting exciting times for Schott AG IT Services in Malaysia by April 2022, as per your presentation right just now. So we'll be moving on to our final session of the day that will be beginning at 3:30 p.m. We have about 15 minutes. So in the meantime, maybe you would like to complete the survey for this session as we strive to continuously serve you better. Also, you can also check out the networking lounge and maybe take a quick break. See you later on at 3:30 p.m.